In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your knock sensor on your Kia Soul. It's located behind the intake manifold. All right, we're going to disconnect our negative battery terminal. Use a 10mm socket. Make sure you put your terminal off to the side, not touching any metal. I'm going to take off this cover. Really just is held down by some rubber grommets. Take that off, get it out of your way. We're going to disconnect our harnesses from the harness holder. Squeeze in those ears. Push out. I'm going to stop by disconnecting this just to get it out of our way. We're going to take our airbox out next. So you're going to take a Phillips screwdriver and undo your plastic grommets. I'm using a trim tool to get the bottom half of it out. Set that off to the side. All right, we're going to use a 10mm socket and a long extension. I'm going to take out this bottom bolt. We look like we have an aftermarket hose clamp over here, so I'm going to use an 8mm. Once you loosen that up, you're going to disconnect this clamp. Put that hose to the side. Now you can take this out. I'm going to unplug the throttle body connector, push in the tab, and then pull. There we go. Set that off to the side. Now we're going to take out these 4 bolts with a 10mm socket. Okay, we're going to just set this off to the side. All right, I'm going to disconnect this connector. Push down on the connector and pull. Now we're going to take this hose off. Like that. Pull it through. Good idea to disconnect your alternator connector. I'm going to disconnect this one as well. Take out the wiring harness from the intake. Okay, you're going to use 2 flathead screwdrivers. Push the ears in on these and push up. I would put this above the fuel rail and get it out of your way. All right, you're going to press down on that and pull it out. So the next thing we're going to do is take out, there are 5 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to start on this first one with a 12mm socket, thin-walled. Highly recommend using a magnet. You're not going to be able to get your finger in there. Now you're going to disconnect your map sensor. There should be a little plastic piece here that you're supposed to pick up a little bit or push down over in this end, but ours is broken off, so we're just going to pull it off. We're going to use a 12mm socket. I'm going to try my swivel and take off this bracket. Also using a 12mm with this bottom bolt. And you can just take this bracket with you. Now we are ready to remove our manifold. You want to pull up a little bit and then pull back. You want to get it off the studs. All right, we're going to have to disconnect our lines here, which we can reach now. All right, so I'm going to disconnect my lines from up here using some needle nose pliers, sliding it down. Okay, I'm going to twist these lines a little bit, break them free from the steel. All right, you're going to want to take off this coolant reservoir hose and just stick it somewhere out of your way. Tip it and pull it out. The next thing you're going to do is put some rags in the holes so nothing falls down in there. You're going to use a 12mm socket and you're going to loosen up this bolt. And take it out. You're going to feed your wire down underneath this hose, and then you're going to disconnect the harness of the knock sensor off the stud that's coming out of the block. All right, so you're going to slide this off the block using a trim tool, or maybe a flathead screwdriver could work. And you're going to pull that off. We had to disconnect this bracket off the intake anyways, so we are going to just pull it right out. All right, so for us, we had to put some penetrating oil on there. It should slide on and slide off, but ours is obviously pretty rusty. Now we're going to slide our knock sensor connector onto the bracket after I've ground it down enough to accept it. So I'm going to just kind of place that down there because I know it's going to be attached to the intake manifold when we replace it. I'm going to slide this harness back onto that stud sticking out of the block. Once I'm done that, I'm going to put my bolt through, line it up, start it by hand. You're going to torque this to 15 foot-pounds. All right, make sure you take your rags out before you install. All right, now we're going to drop it in to place. Once you get close, you can feed your lines where they might want to go before you get to where you're going. And now you're going to line up your studs. Okay, once you're somewhat in place, take a look around, make sure your connectors aren't stuck underneath. Make sure everything reaches where it belongs. And everything's routed the right way. We're going to start with our studs, which have the nuts, and they are going to be torqued at 15 foot-pounds once we snug them up. I'm using a 12mm socket, thin-walled. I'm placing the nut inside it. And then finding my way to the stud, and that helps get it on the stud more easily. It's hard to get your fingers in there. I'm going to go back and forth with these two first, just to snug them up and get the whole thing in place. Consider them your guides. Next, I'm going to put this bolt in, the one on the all the way to the driver's side. Next, we'll do the middle bolt. And then we'll do our last one on the driver's side. Okay, once you got them all somewhat snugged, you can go in and torque them with the studs and nuts first. All right, so we're going to torque these at 15 foot-pounds. Then you're going to go to this bottom one on the passenger side. And you're going to go to the middle on the bottom. And our last bolt, bottom driver's side. I always go around one more time just to make sure. All right, so now we can start connecting our things back. First, we're going to start with this hose up here. And we're going to put that down where it lives. I'm going to connect that. Our alternator. Make sure you hear the click. That's how you know you're in. And pull this down. Put our harness back. And what I do typically is just follow along the harness. Make sure everything's back where it belongs. Okay, so now we're going to connect this connector. I'm going to wait on this hose until I get my throttle body back on. I'm going to connect my coolant reservoir, small one, near the radiator cap here. I left my bolts in there. Make sure you get all 4 started before tightening anything down. Otherwise you'll never find the hole, or you won't be lined up right enough. Alright, so we're going to use a 10mm socket. And just snug them up until we torque them. Okay, we're going to torque these to 90 inch-pounds or 7.2 foot-pounds. I'm going to go in a crisscross kind of a manner. Now we can put our hose on there and here. Let's slide our hose clamps up with some needle nose. Slide this hose clamp up as well. Now we're going to put our connector on our throttle body. Make sure you hear that click. Check all of these. Good, good, good. So now we're going to put our intake bracket on. With our 2 bolts, 12mm. So torque these to 15 foot-pounds. All right, next we're going to plug in our sensors. Plug in our knock sensor. And now we're going to put our harness back in its holders. Double check your work, make sure you've connected everything again to where it goes. All right, so now we're going to put our airbox in. I have my bolts already secured in the airbox, so it's easier since it's such a long distance down. We're lining up our little rubber grommet down here. And push it down once you're there. Okay, we're going to slide that on. All right, we're going to use a 10 millimeter and tighten up these lower bolts for our airbox. And now tighten up your hose clamp. So this goes down like this. Fit it into your airbox. Push that in. Use your plastic grommets to hold it down. Put that in there. So now we can put this back on before we lift the car again. All right, I'm going to connect our negative battery terminal, push it down all the way, get a 10 millimeter socket. And tighten it down. Just make sure you check your terminal, make sure it doesn't move once you have it on your battery.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.